What's up guys, Amel here, back in the studio. It's super late and I've been working all day, so I'm really tired. But I posted on my Instagram story that I would post this video tonight, so I'm trying to be a man of my word and get it up. Video quality is not the best, as you can see, because it's so late, but we're gonna do this video anyway. So let's shut up and jump right into the project. Okay guys, so this is a bit of an interesting project, and reason being is because I actually started this first section, this sort of break section, probably, I don't know, at least a couple weeks back. Posted that video on YouTube, and that's before I knew what the drop sounded like. So then I ended up coming back later and adding the drop onto this project, and because of that I ended up kind of doing some weird things with the lead. The sound in the break and the drop are a little bit different, so it's not super important, but it's just a little bit of a messy project if you're wondering. Anyway, with that said, I'm going to quickly go through this little break section, and then I'll go right into the drop, which is probably the thing you're focused on. So let's check out what this section looks like first. As you can see, I have the leads up top, and the leads are pretty simple in and of themselves, but I do have about 50 automation clips down here. And the reason for that, like I just said, I actually have, there's some effects that are turned on in the break and then turned off in the drop, and some effects that are turned off in the drop, or on in the drop and off in the break, if that makes sense. So for instance, if I go to the lead processing right here, I go to the leads, you can see stereo enhancer, OTT, and this reverb. Those are turned off in the break. And then I end up in the drop, I have those ones turn on, and then there's this other reverb that turns off. So there's just some things, those automation clips sort of widen out the lead and shrink them down and change the reverb up and stuff like that. This is what the leads sound like in the break first. And then all those effects change up, and this is what it sounds like in the drop. So these leads aren't too complicated. In fact, these, I think right here, are all the leads, and I literally just went through my sound bank and I just grabbed a bunch of random presets and threw them together. You can see all these are from my Amel sound bank. The thing that makes them sound the way they sound is on this lead bus. First of all, I have some distortion. You can see I have a couple just pretty basic EQs. Then I have some distortion, some more distortion and compression with Camel Crusher. And then the thing that really makes these stand out is I have this stereo enhancer, which during the drop you can actually see makes this lead a bit more narrow. So the lead kind of pushes into the center. But then what I ended up doing is I have this reverb, and on this reverb you can see I actually have stereo separation turned up on the reverb. So what happens is the lead itself is kind of narrow, but then the peak controller opens up the reverb and the reverb itself is very wide. So you kind of get this effect where the lead plays, and then as soon as the lead stops, it widens up. So it's kind of in and out. Let me play it one more time and see if you can pick up on that. The other thing that's happening is you can see this automation clip right here. Just to emphasize that sort of widening and narrowing of the lead, I actually put a delay on here. So this is the delay. I have it set to, I think it's, I don't know what the time is, 2, whatever that means, and I actually have it turned on ping pong mode. So whenever the delay plays, it's shooting out to one ear. In this case, it's the left ear. So that's the thing that makes the lead sound really big and kind of epic, is it starts narrow and then shoots out wide with both the reverb and delay. Other than that, it's pretty simple. You can see I have some pitch automation clips. Of course, Brooks and Martin Garrix use a lot of pitch automation, like in this section right here. And I think that's it. Let's move on to the chords. These are the chords in the break. Again, they're pretty simple. I think I just have maybe 3 layers. No, I actually have 5 layers, but they're pretty simple saws. They sound like this. Nothing crazy on the processing. I just have these separated out, break chords and drop chords. Some EQ, some slight compression, OTT, fruity limiter. I'm not even sure why I have that. Maybe a little more compression. Tiny bit of stereo widening, more EQ, reverb, and that's essentially it. Then down here, this is actually pretty cool. I have these basses, and this isn't the regular like Brooks bass or anything that I've made. Take a listen. Hopefully you can hear it's very sort of crunchy. I don't know if this is really how it sounds like in the actual track, but that's what I heard, and so I tried to recreate it. I think, is this the one? Yes, this is the one. So this is, if I turn this off, take a listen to this. The other basses in this section are fairly standard kind of Brooks basses. I think a lot of these, yeah, I just layered a ton of my basses from my sample or my sound bank. And then this is the one right here that really sort of makes this bass, gives it that weird gritty texture. What I did is I just literally took one voice of saw, put a little bit of white noise on it, and then in the effects section did a little bit of distortion, boosted the high end a tiny bit, and then added a lot of OTT. So a lot of compression, and then I think I have even a separate bus for that. Do I have a separate bus? No, I don't think. Yes, I do. Vocoder bass. Yes, so the thing that makes this interesting, let me turn off the effects. This is what it sounds like. That's without effects, and then this is with effects on. The very cool thing about this bass, I have an EQ, and then I actually have a vocoder. This is the sort of magic plugin, if you will, that makes this sound what it is. If I turn this off, it sounds like this. It's still very compressed because you can see I added some OTT and sausage factor and stuff. But take a listen with this off versus on. It's a weird plugin to use, but it adds a very cool texture. So that's the magic to that bass, and other than that, it's just kind of a cool sound. And then of course I have a sub in there as well. And for effects, there's really not much going on. I just have some crowd noise and some white noise and whatever. And then it goes into build-up, and then we get the drop. So let's continue talking about the drop. Okay, so in the drop we have already talked about the leads. I've already gone over that part. So let's go down to the chords now. This is what the chords sound like. Again, pretty basic saws, and I actually used a couple different layers than in the break. I have some Silent 1 layers, mostly Silent 1, and then I have one Serum layer. They're really pretty, just simple saws. Like if I play this, they're just saws and a little bit of white noise, a little bit detuned. And again, for processing, I don't think I have anything crazy, just some EQ, compression, a tiny bit of distortion just to give it a tiny bit of grit, and a tiny bit of reverb. So really nothing complicated. Here's the main bass line. Again, for this bass line, I ended up using a different bass line or different instruments than I did for the break bass line. This is what it sounds like. I think for this I used a lot of presets from my sound bank. Yep. So that a lot of these presets are from my sound bank. And then I maybe added one or two, I don't even know where they are, but I think I added one or two other sort of like wider saws, pretty detuned, that I just created from scratch. So that's that. To accompany that, I have added some just bass one shots. I've actually added two different layers of that. The first one sounds like this. And this is the second layer of one shots. Again, these are just, they're fairly low in the mix, but they're just kind of accompanying the main bass line and really adding a lot of texture. So this is just the bass line alone by itself. And then I add these in. Like Brooks says, it really makes the bass line come alive and start talking. So yeah, it just helps the bass line sound really cool. Of course, under that, I have the sub. Nothing complicated, it's just a sub I always use in silent, 2 oscillators of sine wave, and that's pretty much it. And then we add that up with the rest of the bass line. and it sounds pretty sick. Okay, I'm going to mute all the instruments and play the drums for you. Nothing too complicated, just a basic house beat, and there's some little laser effects and tiny little, like these toms and snare drums and sort of offbeat things. In the second part, I did add a couple more things, like some risers and downlifters. Just for fun, since we're keeping with that sort of festival vibe and live feeling, I also added these little DJ samples. I recorded them myself. Lollapalooza, make some noise! Yeah, they sound kind of weird, but in the context of the full song, it sounds a little bit better. Here, let me play it real quick. Lollapalooza, make some noise. Well, anyway, guys, I just had a little fun with adding those little DJ samples and the crowd effects, but otherwise, I think that is pretty much it. As always, the FLP will be available for just a couple of dollars down in the description. You can go check out my website for a free small sound bank, as well as my full Martin Garrix, more Brooks style sound bank, but sort of this type of music. I have a sound bank for that. And otherwise, I'm just gonna play this full track again for you guys. So enjoy. Like I said, it's super late, so I'm gonna try to get this edited and go to bed. And yeah, I can't think of anything else right now. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you back in the next one. My name is Amel. Cheers.